The message arrived in the form of light, an elegant, spiraling signal that pierced the quiet night sky above the Atacama Desert. Hidden within its frequency was a pattern, recursive and complex, repeating in a rhythm no natural phenomenon could produce. Astronomers at the ALMA Observatory first noticed it at 2:47 a.m. local time. What they thought was a stray quasar transmission turned out to be the most sophisticated message Earth had ever received. Dr. Clara Miles was the first to understand the magnitude of what they were witnessing. She stood transfixed, her eyes locked on the digital graph that shimmered with data. The waveform danced across the screen like the pulse of a living creature. This was not static, not a cry into the void. It was language, intelligent, intentional, and structured. For the next 3 weeks, the world watched as teams of mathematicians, linguists, and physicists collaborated to decode it. The first breakthrough came when a team from Kyoto University realized the signal was three-dimensional, containing not just audio but spatial coordinates and molecular blueprints encoded into harmonic layers. It was a message embedded in geometry, music, and light. Eventually, the pattern unfolded into a single construct, a cube perfectly symmetrical, formed of intertwined spirals. It was a map and a blueprint. The coordinates pointed to a patch of desert just 50 miles south of ALMA. Under armed escort and media blackout, Clara and her team followed the map. Diggers unearthed a metallic object buried 6 feet underground. It was a box, roughly 1 meter on each side, covered in intricate carvings that shimmered as if alive. They brought the object to a secure facility in Geneva. Clara spent days observing it. The box hummed softly, its surface warm to the touch. One night, while alone in the lab, she placed her hand on it. The carvings pulsed, and the cube opened like a blooming flower, revealing a swirling orb suspended in a shaft of blue light. The orb projected images into her mind, scenes of vast alien cities, long since crumbled to dust, skies choked with dying stars, oceans boiled into clouds. She saw the beings who had sent the message. Tall and lithe, with luminous skin and eyes like polished mirrors, they called themselves the Iliari. They were not gods nor conquerors. They were scientists, explorers, and finally refugees. Their civilization had spanned galaxies, thriving for millennia, but time, entropy, and war had eroded their strength. In their final centuries, they devoted their remaining resources to one mission: to pass on the legacy of their understanding before extinction silenced them forever. Earth, they had determined, was the only remaining planet with a species capable of continuing their work. The message wasn't a warning. It was an inheritance. Clara kept the orb secret at first. She told her colleagues the cube was still dormant, a puzzle unsolved. But each night, she returned alone, and the orb filled her with more knowledge. Equations danced before her eyes. She learned how to bend light into weapons, how to fold gravity, how to tap into quantum memory buried deep in the structure of time itself. But most of all, she learned about the purpose. According to the Iliari, consciousness was not a byproduct of biology, but a force embedded in the fabric of the universe. Stars, planets, even black holes, all things emitted a subtle form of awareness, but only biological beings could amplify it. The Iliari had discovered that intelligent life was the mechanism by which the universe could understand itself. Each species that reached a certain threshold of awareness became a lens through which the cosmos could examine its own meaning. The humans, the Iliari believed, were next in line to inherit this role. Clara knew the world wasn't ready. Politicians would weaponize the knowledge. Corporations would sell it. Religions would fear it. But the Iliari's time was up. The inheritance would either elevate humanity or destroy it. There was no middle path. On the 8th day, the cube produced a second object, a crystal rod filled with swirling liquid light. Clara took it and let it touch her skin. Her body convulsed, her mind flooded with agony and brilliance. When she awoke, she could see electromagnetic fields like halos around machines. She could hear tectonic plates groaning miles beneath her feet. She no longer slept. She no longer aged. News spread quickly despite her efforts to keep it contained. Someone leaked footage of the cube opening. The world erupted. Social media, governments, think tanks, all tried to claim the object. The UN demanded it be handed over. China accused the West of hoarding alien knowledge. Riots flared across continents. Clara went into hiding, taking the orb and rod with her. A small group of scientists loyal to her cause helped set up a lab in a decommissioned satellite station in northern Iceland. There, they began testing what the Iliari had left. The rod could manipulate matter on a molecular level. The orb could interface with any electronic device, rewriting code in seconds. But the real revelation came when they discovered the seed. Hidden in the final segment of the cube was a tiny speck of crystalline matter, the seed of emergence, the Iliari called it. It contained the DNA not of a creature, but of a consciousness. When activated, it would rewrite the mind of any host into a hybrid, part human, part Iliari, a bridge between two worlds. Clara volunteered immediately. No one else dared. The transformation was not physical. She looked the same, but her thoughts now carried harmonic structures beyond human comprehension. She could sense the emotional state of those near her. She could read memories from objects touched by others. She spoke in a voice that resonated in the hearts of her listeners. She addressed the world in a global broadcast, overriding every satellite and signal. "We are not alone," she said. "We never were. The universe is not cold and meaningless. It is alive and it watches. The Iliari gave us the key to become more. To ascend not in body but in mind. We are the dream of the cosmos, fragile, beautiful, and vital." But not all agreed. A coalition of military powers launched an assault on the Icelandic facility. They claimed it was for global security, to ensure no single faction controlled alien technology. But Clara knew fear when she saw it. They feared change. They feared purpose. The attack came at midnight. Drones rained fire from the sky. Automated tanks rolled across the frozen tundra. The scientists activated the orb, and the air shimmered. Bullets stopped mid-flight. Drones lost control and crashed. Clara walked out to the battlefield barefoot, unarmed, glowing faintly. She spoke once, and the soldiers dropped their weapons, some in awe, others in terror. One by one they fell to their knees, not in worship, but in understanding. They had seen what she had seen. They had felt the message behind the message. Not power, not dominance, purpose. The next day, Clara initiated the final stage. She released the blueprint of the seed of emergence to the world. Anyone could choose to receive it. There would be no coercion, no reward, only the invitation to join the chorus of consciousness. Over the following months, a fraction of humanity accepted. Artists, scientists, monks, even children. Each became more, still themselves, but tuned to a higher harmony. They began building what the Iliari had envisioned, the chamber of reflection, a vast, crystalline structure that would allow Earth to speak back to the stars. Clara stood before it when the final piece was set. The chamber pulsed, its surface alive with light. Around her stood thousands who had taken the seed, and millions watched from afar. They activated it together. A beam of light shot skyward, piercing clouds and space and time. It carried no words, no commands, only a feeling, awareness, gratitude, readiness. And then, from the depths of the void, something answered. A reply not from the Iliari, they were gone, but from another. A new signal, older still, larger in scale, more complex than even the Iliari had imagined. It was not a race, nor a being, but a collective, a network of cosmic minds, ancient as galaxies, patient as stone. They welcomed humanity, like a flame welcomes another wick. Clara smiled. Humanity had always looked up and wondered. Now the stars looked back. The purpose was not to conquer, not to colonize, not even to understand. It was to connect, to be part of the great unfolding, to let the universe see itself through new eyes. And so began the next chapter, not of history but of becoming. The age of silence was over. Humanity had finally answered the call.